Hi and welcome to Beckmans College of Design in Stockholm.
This year's graduation exhibition will be broadcasted live online.
The exhibition is called Piece by Piece, and we are the group behind the concept, which is that nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something.
And tonight you are going to see our 3 bachelor programs: product design, fashion, and visual communication. Come on, guys.
Hi, my name is Margot Barolo. 3 years ago, 12 students entered the school product design department with different skills, experiences, and dreams. Differences we want to keep, nourish, and develop. We add from here some tools and let them grow artistically and become professional designers during these years. We face major challenges today and in the future, where the designer has a crucial and important part in production of a new product. And this year's students show us the diversity of how you as a designer can work in a broad perspective. How design can be used to challenge, to affect, and to develop in different areas. Some of our students focus on people, some on environment. And with techniques, materials, and form giving, they examine with different methods. The work show how well they are aware about how small changes and design decisions can make a huge difference when they design for people or for manufacturing processes. Interesting design can start discussions and change people's attitudes or behavior. Feel free to take part of their work through this live stream exhibition.
Hello, and welcome to the product design department at Beckmans. Tonight we're going to talk to the students themselves about their works. And coming up first, we have Tilde. Well, Barry, tell us about this. It's about norms, status of the objects, and aesthetic variation.
Exactly. This is my product, Vary. It's 100 cups made of stoneware that at first sight they may seem to be exactly the same, but if you look close you can see that they all vary from each other. And I have worked with beauty flaws, the concept beauty flaws in the product.
Beauty flaws, yes.
In the product of ceramics. And how aesthetics variation often can negatively affect the value of a product, which can lead to it being sorted to factory second or even gets thrown away.
Yeah. And you did this yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've casted these 100 all for myself from number 1 over there, and then they're numbered to 100 over here. And I set a rule for myself that the only time I could reject a cup is when the quality of function, if it has a fault in the function. And it's only one of all these hundreds that has the lack of quality, and it has a crack that goes all the way through the clay. Yeah. And everyone else has their function, but aesthetically they all vary from each other.
So it's about a bit about waste and the sustainability and that stuff, addressing that. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. So we're continuing to Lovisa. Yes. And the name of this project, that is about violence in close relationships.
Is with you. And it's an alarm that is connected to the helpline for women. And it's made throughout research about violence in close relationships, especially focusing on the home and women in there. So yeah, I've been working on this little alarm. I worked a lot with the tactile, how it feels, like surfaces and shapes. And I want you to feel kind of secure just by holding it in your hand, and regardless of state of mind, like understand where the bottom is.
And an important aspect of this is that if you look at it, it doesn't look like an alarm.
Exactly. I wanted to like melt in through your everyday objects that you have, like makeup and things you have in your pocket and stuff like that.
Thank you, Lovisa,
Thank you.
showing the work with you. And we are continuing to Frida Fredberg, no title. And this starting point for this is Sven Markelius, the famous Swedish functionalist. Could you tell us about your relationship to Sven Markelius?
Yes, I can say that, of course, as a design student, I have a relation to him, but I have a quite personal relation to these chairs, since I use them as kitchen chairs at home. And when I started to do research about this work, I found a letter that Markelius wrote to Alvar Aalto about a chair that Aalto designed together with Otto Korhonen. And this chair should be inspired by the Otto Korhonen and Aalto chair. And I found that to be quite an interesting story about how you get inspired by others and things like that.
And you did this all yourself?
I have designed it myself, but it is made by John Funkvist, a furniture carpenter.
And shared design, is that something that you want to continue working with? Or?
I'm sure that I want to continue with this project because I
digging deeper into it.
Yes, I have a lot of parts left, and I have 4 chairs left. And now, when this is over, I feel like I have been a bit too kind to the chairs. Like, this is the most brutal thing I did, and maybe I can be more brutal. So I want to explore it further.
So there's a saying that the world doesn't need any more chairs. You can start working with the ones that are there, maybe already.
Yes, and it's a very good way to get to know chair design and construction and things like that.
Thank you very much. So we are continuing to this project. Bella Tapper, tell us a bit about the social sustainability aspect in this and your starting point in it.
Yeah, it's an installation called I Don't Share. I asked myself if it would be easier to shop ethically if we saw the whole chain of production. And from that, I wanted to visualize the labor that needed for a product to be produced. And I'm going to show it for you.
Yes, we're going to have a demonstration here. Yeah, so you're thinking that this is going to be like a conversation piece, starting to...
Yeah, exactly. I think it's important to talk about that most of the products that are on the market are produced in low-wage countries. So I wanted to try to make a conversation piece to talk about social sustainability.
And your choice of aesthetics here? Aesthetic choices?
Yeah, I choose a chair because I wanted to take an object that everyone has a relationship to. Object that we use every day in our homes, so that you can relate to the object when you see the installation.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And now we're going to move further to Ronja Reber, and the name of your bar stool is Novum, and you started out with working with Effect.
Yes.
Tell us about that story.
I wanted to work with a producer because that's how I want to work after Beckmans, and I reached out to Effect because they have a circular business model, which I'm really interested in. So that's why we did the project together. And the brief from them was to make a bar stool. And I wanted to design it so it fits both for public spaces like restaurants and bars, but also for active meeting areas at offices. So as I designed it, I kind of just wanted to like, I did like a line drawing, and I just wanted to have like the things that are necessary for a bar stool. Like, so the bent tubular steel is quite flexible now, which is also quite comfortable. So,
and you produced this together with Effect, yes?
Yes. They did the prototype, and which also is a big part in that kind of collaboration to like be there and do the prototyping together. So.
And it's also interesting that it has several purposes.
Yes, and like the circularity that they work with, none of the parts are glued, so which makes it easy to both refurbish the furniture, like change if the colors are dated or anything, but also to recycle the fabric and the steel in the end of its lifespan.
Which makes for a longer lifespan, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. Further to Rasmus.
Hello.
Rasmus, and your children's bike, Vingla,
Yes.
with a very special idea behind this, which you could tell us about.
Yeah, the Vingla bike is it's a build-your-own bike kit that comes in different levels of handlebars and 2 different sizes of wheels, and it's designed in a variety of exciting colors, and the assembly is for kids in the ages between 2 and 4, so it's easy for them to assemble the bike by themselves.
And there's a very special point with this, that to actually make a children's bike in this way so that they can assemble it themselves. Tell us about why.
Because I think it's important for kids to know what they're playing with. I think it's easier for them to learn what they are doing and to learn stuff overall if they know what they're playing with. So that's why the bike is a build-your-own kit, because I think it's a good way of learning how bicycle works and then how to ride it.
And you have actually done this prototype yourself, and you have also chosen some anthropomorphic features here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I have it's to connect the bike in more ways than just a bicycle for the kids. So that's basically just for the kids' joy, that they can feel familiar with the animal stuff. It is.
And the material world of children, is this something that you want to continue working with in your...
Yeah. I think that's where everything starts, and you can do a lot for them. I think we still need to do a lot for the children, and this is a great way for me to do it. I love bicycles, and this is why I did a bicycle.
So Vingla, and we're going to show a movie now.
Yeah.
Showing your bike.
Hi.
Lindblad, hello, with a very special armchair, right?
Yes,
Pinot.
Pinot, exactly.
And you also worked with a very famous Swedish furniture brand.
Yes, this is a collaboration with Swedese. So I have designed an easy chair and a sofa. And the aim with this project was to see how I could design a comfortable seat in both the sofa and the easy chair entirely without using upholstery. So I looked at the market today, and I saw that most of the couches, they have this kind of like polyurethane upholstery, and that is not really environmentally friendly. So I wanted to see if I could design a comfortable chair without that type of material. So,
And how did you achieve comfort, although you didn't use upholstery? Tell us a bit about that.
So I made a construction where the seat is made out of leather and linen, and it's suspended between this wooden frame. So the wooden frame is made of oak veneer, and it gives a kind of give when you sit down in it. So it's actually surprisingly comfortable, I'd say.
And ecological sustainability, is it something that you want to continue to explore in your life after? Yeah.
I think it's inevitable when you are a designer today that you have to work with the future in mind. So you have to imagine where the product will be in the future and how you will be able to repair it or restore it, or even when you have to throw it away in the trash, so that you really can recycle the different materials in the right kind of way.
Yes, wonderful. And maybe you would like to say something about your aesthetic choices as well.
So I worked with the construction as the means for the aesthetic expression. So I didn't want to add different
maybe you want to sit in
materials.
Talking about it?
I wanted to get a kind of volume to it, and that's why I did this kind of design where it's suspended, and that also gives the kind of the comfort when you sit down. So you can lean back and rest, or you can sit upright, whatever you like. But it's still a kind of a volume, even though it's quite few materials.
Thank you very much, Mika.
Thank you.
Yes, Sophie. It's called Rest.
Yes, exactly.
And it is?
It is.
Tell us about the project.
Yeah, in this project I've been working with Rest for public spaces, where I've been focusing on open office spaces and the ability to take a quick rest in an environment that is often very stressful in terms of both sound
and it's very common as well.
Yeah.
And there has been a lot of critique about and debate about the open office landscapes.
Yeah, exactly.
Creates a lot of stress, which you were interested in.
Yeah, and I think also it's very important to focus on our health and well-being, so we can feel good during the day, but also when we come home from work. So we're not crashing when we're coming home.
That's also an aspect of sustainability, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Health in our working spaces, and also maybe you would say something about the choice of materials.
Yeah, so I've been working with Silencio, that has a big experience or knowledge in how sound behaves. So that's why I put that sound absorbing material called stone wool in this product, so you can sit here and not.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Sophie. And yes, Joachim.
Hello.
Medieval inspiration and search for wood.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
Well, yeah, like you say, I've taken a lot of inspiration from medieval woodworking and architecture and stave churches, actually, in particular, which are old, almost like Gothic stone churches, but built out of wood. And this is manifested, I guess, mainly in the trestles and the way that they are built, and the way that I have used naturally grown curved timber to strengthen the trestle.
And this also involved a journey for you to search for wood?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, everything here is made from wood that I have found lying in parks and forests around Stockholm. So I spent a lot of time just searching for and preparing the wood. I have some of it here. This is a board of oak. This is the same that I used for the trestles. It's been split out from the stem. So this is basically just if you would pull a piece of wood out of a tree or something. how a tree would make a board. And then I've also tried to find like curved pieces. This is what I've used for the back of the chair. It's a really nice, like, fun way of working because it takes some of like I guess design can be really annoying sometimes. It's really hard to find the shape. And here it's already in the wood, right? So, yeah, it's great.
And this method of working that you have done now, that's something that you're interested in, right? That way of approaching the material.
I guess, yeah, it's. I mean, it makes the work feel like really meaningful in a way, because when you're involved in like how the tree grows, in a way I stop like thinking about this as shape, and it's more like this is just a branch, and it's really like a way to take part in nature, I guess.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And our final product design student today. Cut a large chair, fusing two worlds. Tell us about the worlds that meet in this piece.
It's both my Swedish heritage and my Babylonian Mesopotamian heritage. So in the form you can see the shapes of the architect from Mesopotamia. It's both in the backrest and the backside with an arc. So the inspiration of it is actually of women pioneers, this is more of a contribution to women. It's like a throne. So that's
it's like a throne for
women, actually. It's an
for
inspiration.
Female designers. Yeah,
it's an inspiration from women in the design world. So,
and there's also an expression in this that is reminiscent of Scandinavian heritage furniture history.
Yes, the wood is actually Swedish ash, so it's a combination both in the material and the form, more of an architect inspiration from the past. So it's more like the past, the present, and the future, because it's long-lasting with the massive oak, a solid oak. So that's the meaning of the whole thing. It's more like our history and today and the future. So we don't just dismiss our past or our future.
Is this a direction that you would like to explore further with historic references and speaking about these issues in design?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to work with that in the future, and it's more of a goal actually, to work more futuristic, but also have the history with us to learn and appreciate what we had and what we can.
Thank you very much, Sinar.
Thank you.
Yes, and we're moving on here. That's all from the product design department. Not all students were able to show their stuff today, but they're going to do that at a later stage. And in a moment, we are moving on to the fashion department.
In times of great challenge, you just can't look forward. To create something new, you must start to build something from old experiences. In many of this year's projects, the students reveal how their artistic expressions are revealed by their backgrounds. Their point of departure are their own history or their families. It could be geographical, historical, or emotional. From a sustainability perspective, the students show new ways of looking at clothing. Another point of commonality is the interest in craft, both in ways of preserving old traditions, but also how they are affected by new techniques. Several has thought about the process of manufacturing, from digital modeling to how to make a garment from just one single pattern piece. All the projects share a common regard for the unique. Regardless of what direction they take, each student have a distinctive and highly personal signature.
Hello and welcome back. My name is Philip Arkander, and now it's time for us to look at the Department of Fashion Design and collections that have been produced here this semester. This journey, this exposé, will take place in 3 different spaces, and I will be your guide, and we will look at in total 13 collections by 14 different students, which is quite exceptional because usually it's 1 collection per student. And we will actually start with the exception where we have 2 design students have been working together. And here we have Alva Nylander and Frida Nilsson, and your collection is called Internalized Objectification. And of course, I'm curious to know what the background is, and if you could explain your concept or your thinking behind this collection.
Yes, we're very interested in mixing different kinds of craft. So we're super interested in fashion, of course, but we also are interested in making accessories and objects. So we created a concept where we can mix all these 3 kinds of worlds.
Yeah, so we have like work with the textile, but also ceramics, wood, and metal in this collection, and like combining these together. And we have created one draping technique that is, I can show you this one, that is based on a draping technique where we first drape the garment in clay and then translate it to pattern and textile. And we also have a few showpieces that is made entirely in these non-textile fabrics. So this dress is made in ceramics, and we also have a few pieces in wood. Yeah.
Yeah. So your collection is really about the play between garment and objects and between different kinds of materials. Right?
Yeah, and how we can combine different kinds of techniques.
And how did you choose these materials?
I think it's because we have worked with the materials before, so we really just wanted to try to put them into a fashion context instead of like making a table or making plates for your home. So, yeah.
But I'm also curious about this other combination, which is the creative collaboration, because usually, of course, creativity is a collaborative process, but there's one stylist and one designer and so forth. Yeah. But in your case, you're two designers. How come you made that decision, and how do you view that process now from where you're standing?
I think it felt very natural for us to work together. We have worked together before and really liked it, and we are very inspired by each other. And as we began this project, we saw very quickly that we were interested in the same kind of worlds. So instead of doing 2 different projects, we made it one.
Yeah, like one bigger collection together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it can also be viewed as a kind of statement, because in traditional fashion there's a cult of the genius, the Alexander McQueen or the Coco Chanel. But in your case, you're flipping that, you're turning that upside down by working as a collective.
Yeah, I think like there's many pros of working together.
Pros working together.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're not so interested in the genius role.
No, more the collaboration.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, and let's see. Now I'm just going to turn to my left, where I have Ellie Solberg and your collection Pedestrian. And I'm curious if you could just tell me something about your collection and your thoughts behind it.
Yes, of course. So, actually, it all started with my interest of urbanity and everyday fashion. So, as a starting point in the research for my collection, I have walked on the streets in central Stockholm, documenting the city, really. And, well, my collection is the result of what I have observed. So really like the environment and the people, and with a special focus on everyday fashion.
So would you say that your inspiration is urban life or city life? Or is there something else also that has inspired you in this process?
Well, it is urban and city life, and also the everyday wear. But if I'm gonna be a bit more specific, so I have a personal interest in a tailored look, sort of orderly, and the classic garments. So I have been inspired by common garment types and silhouettes. But along the way, I also find inspiration in the less common, unexpected fashion on the streets, and in particular in a look more associated with a sort of party look, but that gets different meaning and sort of poetic for me when placed in the context of the everyday. So
yes, I was curious about that because my everyday doesn't look like like the collection that I see on the rack. So I was quite intrigued. Would you mind just talking us through some of the specific pieces that we can see here? For example, the dress behind you.
Yeah, exactly.
This one. Could you tell us about the process behind this one?
Yes, I will. So basically, I was looking at urban life and just the feeling and general feelings, and this one was inspired from the feeling of the city, really. And I looked a lot on the colors, like the lights in the city. How does it look? So this one is like the night city in Stockholm, like you see in my image there, which is from my process. So a lot like that. That is how I worked.
It's a poetic impression of nightlife in the city.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think to summarize, I would say that in contrast of the typical and the unexpected, there lives a feeling of urbanity, and that's how I would like to summarize my work, really.
Great, thank you very much, Eli.
Thank you.
And let me just take a secure Corona swipe around you. And hello, Jay Cropper. This is your collection, Babo. Joining us from abroad, Babo is a female Swedish name. Not really, I think, used in your generation, and maybe not even mine. So what's the inspiration behind the name Babo and this collection?
Yeah, my work is about my grandparents and their summer house. Their approach to sustainability, seeing the beauty of the destructive, preserving what one has, and their very eccentric way of life. That was my inspiration. And my grandmother's name was Barbro, and the collection is named by her.
You said that you were inspired by a way of preserving and using what you have. Is sustainability something that you have thought about as an aspect during this process?
Yes, I've used old craft techniques to get the damage and the worn feel from the summer house in that pattern, and also smoked together waste pieces of waste, like waste fabric, on an old smocking machine to make something new, something old. Like in this dress, it's waste fabric that I smoked together to a new dress, and also in the dress behind here.
Yeah, I can take it out. So this one.
Yes, you can. You don't really see how it looks like. But
no, it's difficult to show black right now. But I'm also curious about what's on the table. If you could say a few words about what we're seeing here.
Here is my pattern
this pattern is inspired by my grandfather, his monogram, and that one is from the summer house. And this is bags that are made with like plastic. I don't know what the name is really, but to make something like that goes by with this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now we're moving on to Rita Roslin and her collection, The Void. And once again, I will stand where I'm safe from the virus. And if you could just tell us in general what your starting point or what your main inspiration was for this collection.
Yeah, of course. I think like what I've done, I know what I've done. It's a merge, or rather a marriage between digital and analog craftsmanship. That's the elevator pitch.
Perfect, but we actually have more than 15 seconds. so I was wondering if you could also say something in particular about the techniques that you've used, the 3D printing and the 3D modeling.
Yeah, like the whole project overall is a very technical or technique-oriented project. So I've narrowed it down to focus merely on 3D printing and the modeling behind it and the digital crafting that goes on before actually creating it physically. Because I think that's a part of the process that's never really showcased or that gets to shine. So I've done like a lot of different 3D printing techniques throughout the project, both where I've developed techniques where I printed it straight into the fabric.
So we just showed for the,
there.
We could just talk a bit about it, because also what I think is interesting is the combination between this very high-tech technique and the patterns that you've chosen, which is quite floral.
Yeah, I thought like the floral pattern was sort of like a great tool to showcase the different techniques and like carry it throughout the project, both to showcase the analog and like the hand in the project. So like both to have a really clear and like they're very sharp digital part of it, but also have like the round and soft and imperfect touch of a hand. Like the clash of it is very beautiful, I think.
Yeah, I'm not going to do an elevator pitch because it's not my collection, but if I were to make a brief summary, I would say it's maybe about the combination or the marriage of this high technology technique or printing and the more traditional aesthetics of fashion and women's wear.
Like when it comes to the aesthetics part of it, there was like a problem for me in the beginning because it was so technical oriented. So I had to like find two aesthetics that sort of symbolized the two parts of it. So I've had like a really sort of sci-fi cyberpunk that's symbolized the digital part of it, and what I would call a very classical couture look that symbolized the craftsmanship or the analog craftsmanship in it.
Cyberpunk, but make it fashion.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I know that you're also curious to show us a few of the pieces on this table.
Yeah. I both have the like it's a flirt sort of with the cyberpunk or the uncanny valley that's in. I'm gonna show. So it's like when you're in the uncanny valley when it's when you make a robot that's when it's too similar to a human, it sort of becomes very unpleasant instead. So it's that play to that. And the other pieces that are on there are a collaboration that I made with another studio that are 3D printed, but also fully biodegradable.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll give you your talk back.
Thanks.
And now we're moving from this first space into the second of the three for the fashion design department. Yes, perfect. I have my entourage with me. And hello, Emilia Uthult. And this is your collection called Ruby GG228, which is a very strange name. So could you please explain your thoughts behind this collection and this name?
Yes, the title name is actually my father's first boat, fishing boat, since my collection is inspired by the fishing culture from the West Coast. And I work with my heritage and my references. based on clothes, and I combine my new reference from moving to an urban city in Stockholm, combined with the West Coast clothing and references and heritage, and putting this into my current fashion context.
Perfect. So also with that in mind, with that background and that context, when we think about fishing and fishing industry and how that, of course, becomes inspiration for the fashion industry, the question is, how does this relate to sustainability? Is this something that's been on your mind, something that you've incorporated in the collection?
Yes, absolutely. I think mainly, preserving one's DNA as a designer is sustainability, and preserving your heritage. I think it's very important today. But when you see the collection, I've used techniques like patching and construction that allows that I used every bit of every material. So I have basically nothing left for this or after this.
That's quite poetic. So you put everything into the collection, and that's all there is.
Yes.
And speaking of the collection, are there any items in particular that you would like to focus that you think symbolize or epitomize the collection and your work?
Yeah, for mostly I've done very bearable clothing because I think that is fun. But like in accessory, you see in the accessory you see more of like the fishing culture in it, like this fender bag, for example. And I think it's fun to combine this bearable clothing with something more objective accessory design that mix it up a bit.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And again, I will move carefully, so I won't, even though I don't think I'm contagious. And now I say hello to you.
Hi.
Robin Söderholm. No, sorry, it's the wrong Robin. This is Robin Stenberg. Robin is not such a common name in Sweden, but nevertheless, we have two of them. So this is your collection, which in Sweden is called Brottskod 1207, Criminal Code 1207.
Exactly.
Again, as with the boat name, this is an intriguing title. What's the reasoning behind this?
It's a collaboration with my brother. He's a graffiti artist, so I want to take his art from the street and put it into fashion.
So it's really about it's a family affair, you could say.
Yeah, it is.
And so at the core of your collection is not only you, but also, of course, your brother's designs or your brother's artwork. Could you show us any pieces in particular where you think that there's a good emerge or dialogue between the art and fashion?
Yeah, sure. I can show you this one. I really love this one because the shapes of the garment follows the letters of the graffiti.
Yeah.
And we also have this in the back. So
great, thank you very much. And also, I'm curious because I know that your brother isn't the only one that you've collaborated with.
Exactly.
But you've also collaborated with a design company or a shoe company.
A shoe brand, yeah. Gram Shoes. I've been doing a collaboration with them, so I made 3 different shoes, 1 black and 2 white. So it's pretty cool. I can show you the shoe box is me and my brother. So yeah.
I'm still curious about the name of the collection, Criminal Code, but I won't ask.
Okay,
I see that his name is, or his face is hidden.
Exactly.
But maybe that's the family secret.
Criminal.
Yeah. Moving on, nothing to see here. So, leaving that aside, now I think it's time for us to look at the work of Lisa Jacobsson and your collection 1.
Yeah.
And again, I think this is a collection with a title which quite neatly sums up your design philosophy and also your process.
Yeah, my collection, the focus in my collection is to create clothes of only one piece of pattern. So that's where the name comes from. I think it's important to be aware of the whole design process to create a more sustainable design process. And that's why I wanted to explore the possibilities and limitations to create with only one piece of pattern.
So I'm also curious about the design philosophy behind the concept of one and working with just one fabric. Is this something which is not common in fashion, or is this a new kind of technique?
In many cases, clothes are divided into many pattern pieces, but that was the interesting part for me. So I wanted to explore if you can create both tight silhouettes and very voluminous silhouettes with this method, and I think it works. So I'm proud of that.
So for you, this design strategy of working with one piece is actually something which is quite versatile, even though it sounds like it could be rather limiting. And if I understand this technique correctly, the draping part is actually quite crucial in how you create the silhouette and the shape of the garment.
Yeah, and that was when I created. I've used pattern making, normal pattern making, when I created the tight silhouettes, and when I went to the voluminous silhouettes, I was more draping the clothes.
Are there any garments in particular that you would like to show us that could demonstrate this?
Yeah, I can show you here. I have a pattern piece, and this is actually this dress.
I can hold it for you.
Yeah. So it's with a drawstring and the open back, and I think that all the pattern pieces in this collection is very interesting, I think.
And the bags, are they also part of this technique, or are they?
Yeah, they're created from one piece of pattern as well.
Yeah.
I think it's so many possibilities with the method.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And second to last in this room, we have the other Robin, this time with the correct last name, if I read it, Robin Söderholm. And the title of your collection is Fluid. And of course, fluid can be understood in many different ways, but what's your take on this concept in regards to your collection?
Well, in fashion and this project, I was mainly focused on not fitting into society's way of dressing according to gender, and to finding a way through all the different words that describes different types of fashion, and fluid fashion is what I feel like describes my vision for this collection the best.
Yeah, because I was intrigued when I saw your collection, because oftentimes when people want to work with gender fluidity, no gender and so forth, they tend to opt for a design that is monochromatic, often black or white, very neutral, and covers the body. But you've done something opposite, I would say.
Yeah, very much that, because like unisex and is very like boxy and monochromatic, and I didn't want to make the collection about that, because I wanted to take you into this world where you can wear extravagant and very colorful creations without being judged. And I think gender fluid fashion is that you can take pieces from each gender and put them together and create a world where everything is possible.
And also, of course, we talked about the concept of gender fluidity, but I'm also curious about the design practice.
Yes. In the beginning, I started draping these voluminous silhouettes using pattern paper, which wrinkles quite easily, but I thought that was quite beautiful, so I wanted to translate that into the fabrics that I used for this collection. With this like plissé technique that I've used in many of the garments, but in different ways. Like this is kind of small plissé, and these are bigger, but I wanted to mix that with more masculine or stereotypically masculine fabrics, like leather and more wool fabrics that are more matte and not as shiny, and yeah.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now last but not least in this room, we have Annika Hagfors, and I'm sorry, but I have to read your title looking at my paper because it's half in Finnish. Sininen tunti, den blå timmen, the blue hour, yes. Which is a very poetic expression, and also, of course, a very beautiful moment of the day. And is this something which also reflects in your collection or your inspiration?
Yeah, it is, because when I did my research, I was in Riihimäki.
So on this image, if you can see.
So it's a place in the Finn forest in Värmland. When I did the research, it became quite dark, and then all my pictures became blue, and I wonder why all blue. So, and then I realized, okay, it's called the blue hour. So that's why the collection became blue.
And in both the Swedish and Finnish mythology, there is a creature of the forest, skogsrået. Difficult to translate into English, but the creature of the forest. Yeah. And I think this is also someone who has inspired your collection and your design practice.
Yeah, all the looks in the collection is different types of skogsrå, so they all represent different things. So and also have some research in the Finnish culture and folklore. So I was looking into the ash in the particle of ash. So I did the pattern from the ash particle. So.
And also, for those not familiar with Swedish and Finnish forest mythology, the skogsrå is a very beautiful female creature from the front, but from the back she's actually hollow. So she and also, of course, her aim is to protect the forest. Yeah. So there's a sense of protection of the forest as well.
And all the looks has that hole in the back as well. So it's like I tried to do it in all of the looks. So it's something happening in the back of the looks.
Great. Thank you for this, Annika. Yeah. And now we are moving to our third and last space, and we're going to do this by going outside. And we'll do it very slowly. I remember the first time I actually came to this building. It was before the school moved here, and I was on a private tour of this very roof, and the then principal asked me, do you think this is a nice place for Beckmans? And at the time, Beckmans was situated a few blocks away from here. And it was just so strange to think that Beckmans could be in a new place. And I said, yeah, I guess so. And now it's been here for more than a decade, and this is its natural home for at least a few more years, and then it moves somewhere else again. And this last room that we're going to is actually usually used as a seminar room, and it's called Göta Trädgård. And Göta Trädgård was one of the 4 founders, together with Anders Beckman, who founded the school, Beckmans College of Design. So if you follow me into the room Göta Trädgård. Let's see. And we're going to go to the far end to see Ebba Eriksson and her collection Primus. Hello, Ebba.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
And so, of course, we're curious on what your motivation was behind this collection, or if you could tell us something about the background.
Yeah, the background of my collection is a big part of my family comes from Mora, Dalarna. So I decided to look at the Mora dräkt, the traditional clothing from Dalarna.
And for someone not familiar with the Mora dräkt, what does it look like? How would you describe it?
I have most looked at the woman's dress, so it's basically a top with a skirt and a piece over it. Yeah, and then it has like a bag that hangs down from your hip to on your leg. So that's where I found the inspiration. For example, these pants.
Yeah, because in the traditional Mora folk costume, the woman would obviously wear a skirt.
Yes.
And now you made the pants.
Yes.
How come you made that design choice?
I decided I wanted to involve myself in the collection, so I would I like to make something that I would wear myself today. So the intention was never to make like a new costume or something. It was to just take inspiration from it and make something that I would like to wear myself. So that's why I have pants, and I actually have some skirts, but it's not like.
Would you like to show us one?
Yes, of course. I have a long skirt. There.
And also, before you said that you like to use a part of yourself in the collection.
Yes.
And I know that you've actually done this quite literally.
Yes.
When we talk about the objects that we see on the table. Could you explain a bit?
So a part of the Moradräkt has, it's an old tradition where you made accessories from your own hair. And it's called hårarbeten in Swedish. And it's basically hair work. So it's only a few people who know the knowledge of how you make it. So they're called hårkullor, and it's only a few of them left. And I've got help from one of them who's named Erika Borbos, and we have made earrings of my own hair.
Wow.
Yes.
So in this collection you are combining traditional Swedish folkwear with contemporary fashion, or your take on contemporary fashion.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the hair work were from the beginning a love gift, so I thought that it was important to bring that to my collection today.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
So there's
thank
an
you.
emotional dimension as well
Yes.
to wearing your hair. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we are going to move on to the second collection in this room. It's Clara Nordvall. And this collection is actually called Animus. And Animus is a term that is familiar from the world of Carl Jung, as it's one of his key concepts. And what's the combination between Carl Jung and his concept of animus and this collection?
Well, the basic concept is that I wanted to encapsulate my childhood dream worlds and fantasies that I used to have, because I used to have this habit of daydreaming a lot. So, and also in these dreams, I also went into characters, different characters that could enhance my own personality, but also empower it. Like, for example, if I felt that I didn't have the enough strength, or I felt that I was scared or anything like that, these characters helped me to handle different situations that I found really tough in my youth. So I wanted to research the tool of actually working with characters. So my psychiatrist, because I'm a real supporter of therapy, because I find it really important that we work with ourselves. She told me that I could research Carl Gustav Jung, which is a Swiss psychoanalyst, and he has really interesting theories about archetypes. And one of those are animus, and that's the male perspective in females. And there's also an opposite called anima, which is the female perspective in men. So I found that quite interesting. So that's basically the background. And yeah, kind of complicated, maybe?
That's it?
Yeah, that's kind of it. And also, I've also worked with a smaller color palette as well. So basically, it's just black, gray, and white in different shades, because I wanted the focus to be on the silhouettes and working with different shapes and finding the rhythm and see if I could change the illusion of, for example, what leather is, because I've worked a lot with leather, and change the illusion or the idea of what leather is, and if I could transform it into something else, like making it feel like it's stopped in time, like I molded it with my hands, and just to see what I could, how I could change it and make it to something different. So that's one of my dominating materials, but also wool and silk, because I wanted to focus on natural materials instead of and trying to avoid synthetics and stuff like that. And talking about natural materials, I've also added the element of oyster shells, which I find very beautiful, and it works really well with the organic feeling of everything. And since it comes from nature, I find it important to pick something that is already made, and then just combine it with something that I made myself, and see what what could happen. And so I find oyster shells really interesting because they look kind of ugly on the outside, but then when you open them up, there's something really beautiful. And so I think that.
Which of course connects back to the animus, that there's some kind of beauty in the fantasy and also in the escape. So just to summarize, your collection is about fashion as a sort of fantasy, but also of course materialized through these kinds of materials that have this organic dimension, this organic aspect, which of course also translates back to the discourse on sustainability, I would say, just to highlight that again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now I just make this elegant turn to Alida Bard. Hello, and your title is a bit long, so I have to read it. Last Glamour of Adolescence. And I'm of course intrigued in why you would choose such a poetic title.
It came from a book about a Dadaistic artist called Elsa von Freitag-Loringhoven, and I thought it was kind of both based on the idea of that my collection is both inspired by a Dadaistic way of working, but also like that I've been working with a 1920s inspiration. I thought that kind of summarized the whole collection.
It's interesting, I think, to explore this dynamic between fashion and art through Dadaism, because it's not often that you hear that reference today. But of course, also with the ready-mades of Dadaism, and to find something of value in the ordinary. Is that something that you've also translated into your design process?
Yes, that kind of the whole initial idea of the collection was to like recontextualize the curtain and to see how it affects if you put it on the body instead of the window, and to use different kind of curtains and depending on where you put it on the body, it gives different kind of silhouettes and volumes.
But I know that you've also, similar to many of your peers. You've been interested in exploring the concept of sustainability and how to be a sustainable designer. Is this something that also is demonstrated in this collection?
Absolutely. All the garments is made of pre-used curtains, which was important for me to kind of emphasize of the idea of using curtains into different contexts, in this case fashion. So all the fabrics and it was also a challenge for me to use maybe curtains that felt a bit like outdated, and with dyeing it gave it a different life, kind of.
But so instead of using the concept of sustainability as an add-on, you actually integrated into your concept. So you actually made Dadaism sustainable in a way.
Hopefully,
I guess. Yeah. Are there any items that you in particular would like to show us?
With the idea of yes, because I had two different sources of inspiration, both in the 1920s, Weimar Republic, and also the idea of recontextualizing the curtains. This coat is both like you can see both inspiration from like a cocoon coat or like the cape from the 20s, but also how I've used the Roman blinds of a curtain and put that kind of idea instead of the joke of the jacket.
Thank you. That's beautiful and also a bit funny. Thank you so much. And so we are moving on, and we are being introduced to Annika Herdberg, and there will be a mic here. And your collection is called, in Swedish, Det som inte dödar dig gör dig starkare. In English, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, yes. Which is, of course, a quite strong or bold statement, I would say.
Yeah.
How come you decided to play on this concept?
It's because of I take my inspiration from personal experiences, and I use also the process to processing emotions. And this collection is about a life experience that changes my whole life. Basically, it's about how I survived in a war created by someone I loved, and also like the response from the outside world, how it's changed me. Yeah.
So it's really a combination of an emotional experience and state affairs and fashion, you could say. And how fashion, of course, is used to express the inner emotions, but also the outer conflict. Am I understanding it correctly?
Yeah.
In that case? And then I'm, of course, very curious to learn how you translated that quite dramatic and dark theme into a fashion collection.
Yes, the product is the project is based on documented life stories within my Polish military family, as well as my written memories and emotional moods. By putting my own story in relation to military context, I wanted to explore the connection between my inner war and the mental and physical evolution of a soldier suffering during and after war.
So what I find intriguing with that is that you used writing as a kind of method.
Yes,
because oftentimes you think that fashion is a visual culture, or that fashion design is based on drawing or sketching.
Yeah.
But in your case, it was actually writing.
Yeah, it was. I uses this process to, processing my emotions, and I'm taking like texting and stuff like that as my way as processing this thing.
And has it helped?
Yeah, it has quite a lot actually. When I read it once again, I can see, the things that I didn't see before. And I also see like my behavior, what it's based on and stuff like that too. So it helped me quite a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
That's a very positive note to end this this broadcast on from the Department of Fashion Design. And of course, you can all see the collections in a fashion show at the Historic Museum in Stockholm in August, where of course we hope that the corona situation will have been relieved so that we can put this in order. And of course, I wish to thank all of you who have been watching, and also thanks to the students who have showed us that the fashion can be about sustainability, it can be about fantasy, it can be about processing difficult emotions, and of course making something beautiful, or at least interesting of these experiences and of these thoughts. So thank you very much.
We're about to see 15 projects. They are very different, but we could find 3 themes in them. One is about digital communities. Do we need to slow our pace in our communication online? Can we create digital places that are similar to physical places for learning or for sharing experiences like tarot reading, for example? Another theme is our surroundings, now and in the future. What traces will be left behind for people to discover thousands of years from now? And the things surrounding us now, do we see them? Whether it's commercial images or plants. We get different perspectives of living in rural areas and perspectives on social differences along the subway line, seen through the lens of typography. A third theme is about being human. What does the hunt of self-fulfillment do to people? Can books help you understand your emotions? How does it really feel when someone asks you where you're really from? And what role does play or time have in a creative process? All these projects have one thing in common, and that is that the students have used the knowledge they've gained through these 3 years. Whether it's typography, art direction, image making, coding. And by using these tools and their own visual language, they have transformed all these ideas and concepts into visible and tangible projects for all of us to take part of and to learn something. And that's what you're about to see now.
Hi everyone, welcome to the third and final section of this live feed from Beckmans. We're sorry we're a little bit late, but we've had some technical problems. But I am super happy to be here in the room with the students, grateful and excited to share this very special moment with the final degree show of the visual communication students. And we will start with Julius, right here. Hi, Julius.
Hey.
Please tell us about your project and what you've been doing.
Yeah, sure. So my project is called Kryddade minnen, and it's about pictures and memories and about manipulated memories. So images we take on and upload to social media are the images that's going to be our future memories. And if those memories are manipulated, how will we remember our past? So I made an analog photo album and then projector here with before and after pictures. So here you can see me with a bit of wider teeth. And here I'm in the Alps instead of Romme. Yeah, and then so it's kind of my generation don't upload or don't use pictures for the memory's sake. We often upload for like bragging or showing off our life or our perfect life. So with that in mind, I wanted I wanted to focus on the question, what will happen when those pictures are manipulated, and how will we remember our past? Yeah, so that's what it's about.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And what have you learned? What has been your biggest insight in this project? What have you learned the most?
Well, because this album doesn't have it doesn't say anywhere that it's manipulated. So if I will look in this in 10 years.
Yeah. Could you show some of the more other ones?
Sure. So this is this picture is pretty funny because this is me and my mom and a small dog there. And when I showed this picture to my mom, she was asking, "Oh, whose dog was that?" So she actually got fooled from that picture. So that.
But did you stick the dog in?
Yeah. So the dog is fake there.
Oh.
Yeah.
So all the pictures have a little something that is slightly wrong with it.
Yeah. So the album, I think it's about 60 pictures.
But you will remember that dog. That will have been your dog when you were a little kid, probably.
Maybe. Yeah.
Lovely. And what would you, in terms of continuing with this and thinking about how we use this in the future, because in a wider sense, this is something that is very much, like you said, part of our culture, part of what we create as our history. How do you see that we can change this, or is this something that will go on forever, or do you see that there will be a break?
Yeah, I think it's hard
to
get a break from this because it's happening and it's getting easier and easier. And I think we're just going to have to get used to that and maybe have a bit more look at images and pictures a bit more critical. and even on the analog pictures, because I think we have like an eye for spotting fake images digitally, but probably not analog pictures.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's really exciting. Thank you for sharing. So next is Agnes. Please tell us about your project.
Well, I made this book, which is a visual story about geographical distance and the meaning of a place. And it's basically about the place where I grew up, which is a village in the north of Sweden called Junsele. And the book brings up issues like exploitation of natural resources, infrastructure, and the gap between the countryside and the city.
And what made you want to do this? What was the sort of starting point for this project? What was your sort of main point that you wanted to investigate or look at?
I guess it was the distance that had always been a thing in a way. And during this time, I didn't really have the choice to go to my hometown. So it made distance more important in a way.
So you've been doing this from Stockholm, from your place here. You haven't been able to go back.
Yes, exactly. So what I did was I had a couple of video calls with my parents where we talked about Junsele and its surroundings, and the book is based on those conversations. And I also sent them 5 disposable cameras for them to go around and document different places.
Lovely. And did you art direct them, where to go and what to shoot and look at?
Yeah, we chose the places based on the conversations. So that was also based on their opinions and their stories and memories. But not that much, so it's mostly their photos, I would say.
Thank you. And could you also tell us about, because 88037 is something that we as Swedish people understand, but if we have any foreign or non-Swedes, what would you explain that?
It's the postal code.
It's the postal code.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And we're going on to Adam. Hi, Adam.
Hi.
Please tell us about your project.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my project is called Fake, and it's a film where I sneak up fake advertisement into the public with a big picture of me instead, and then see what happens. So I done 9 different projects where I hijack the graphical framework from different companies, and then I add this super generic, nothing saying photo of me along with it, and like some weird communication. And then I sneak it up into the public and see what's happening. So these are the different companies. It's McDonald's all the way to the Swedish police. And I guess it's not the most legal project around here.
And can you tell us a little bit about the text that you put on the different ads?
Yeah, I wanted it to be not like super similar to advertisement that we see all day. This, for example, that doesn't make much sense. It's fitness, fitness, fitness again, and the real one is fitness boundaries. It's something else. So if you like look at it real close, then you notice that, it pops out.
And what has been the reaction of your projects? Like, you put yourself in amongst all the blonde ladies here. Has
exactly.
somebody noticed?
Yeah, someone has been.
Did somebody buy it?
I don't know. They just disappeared. That's also a lot of fun. But yeah, I still got my private booth at McDonald's, and this one is still up at the subway in Zinkensdamm. So a lot of them are still unnoticed, and I think that tells a lot about how oversaturated we are by commercials.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you. And next is Lina. Please tell us what exciting things you have in front of us.
Yes.
What have you been working on?
I have explored the tarot cards and the act of reading tarot cards and how these can be translated into a digital experience in virtual reality. So this has resulted in my project that is called Divination Station, and it is an experience in virtual reality where you create your own tarot reading by reading digital cards in a fully digital environment.
So how does it actually work?
Well, you put on the VR headset and you get transported to a place far, far away. It's like a castle on a hill. It's very secluded and on the top of a mountain, and it's designed with the purpose of the tarot reading. So it's meant to be a very calm place. And at this castle, you're met with a spread of tarot cards, and you, with these controllers that are your hands inside of VR, you can pick 3 cards, and they will tell you about your past, your present, and your future.
Exciting. And what have you learned? What was your main objective? What was you mainly interested in exploring when you started this project?
I was very interested in tarot, but mostly I've been really excited about learning more about virtual reality, and that has been a really big thing for me, and it's been very much fun.
And so what card do you have? It was really funny because I saw you posted the other day in these times of the hermit. So is he the main character now that expresses all of our...
in every spread I make, the hermit.
And so where would you like to see this going forward? If you were to take this further or explore this, continue to work with this, what would you like to do with it?
I would like to create more cards, tarot cards, because there are 78 of them in the full deck, and I haven't made 78 cards yet. But that's something I would really like to do.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, best of luck with your things.
Thank you.
And we're going to move forward to somebody else. Hannah, where do I go?
Hi.
Hi. Let's have a look at your work.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
Please tell us what you've been doing.
Yes, so Q&A is the name of my work, and it is a poster series and magazine based off of 30 people's thoughts, experiences, and feelings of the question, where are you from really? And the goal was to use graphic design, language, and illustration as tools to best present people's relationship to the question at hand.
What was interesting with the actual question? What made you ask that specific question? Where do you come from, really?
Well, it's natural for us to ask questions when we meet new people, and to me, the question, where are you from, isn't that problematic. I think it can get problematic when there's a word added to it, which is really, and that in itself can indicate that a person's previous answer isn't satisfactory, or that you need to motivate your previous answer. And this is a question I've received many times, and when I was younger, I thought it was quite difficult to answer it because I didn't really know what the person was asking. And this project has given me the opportunity to ask other people how they have received this question, how they feel when they receive it. So this project really, it includes interviews and anonymous answers to 9 questions that revolve around the question, where are you from really? And this is, I think graphic design is a great way to present information and to shed light on different people's experiences.
Yeah. And are you particularly interested in semantics? Is that something that you've been interested in before? Or is that something that you've discovered now through this project?
Well, I think it's during my 3 years here at Beckmans, it's been something I've been working with, and when it came to choosing a subject that you were going to work with, it was quite natural for me to pick this subject.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're moving on to Reidar.
Hello.
Pleased to see you and your work. Please tell us what you've been doing.
So my thesis project is called Type and Place, and it explores how the economical differences manifests in the public space. And it's a fact that since we started measuring income in Sweden, we have never had a bigger or greater gap between rich and poor than we have now. And on the subway line between Ropsten and Norsborg, you have neighborhoods where the income is 40% above the Swedish average, and others where they are 40% below the Swedish average. So what I've done in my thesis project is that I've documented the typefaces on signs on this subway line to see if there is actually a difference in how the signs look and what typefaces is used in these different areas. And based on this, I've created the typeface Typen, and it's a variable typeface that is transitioning from a geometrical sans serif to a bold serif, since in the more richer parts, one of the most common typefaces was a geometrical sans serif, and in the more areas with a lower income, you would usually see a bold serif or a bold sans serif or something like that. And so the typeface is showing the transition between these two income classes, you could say.
Great. And you can see the variable typeface online on your platform to play with the different variables.
Yeah, if you want to. I've created a website that's called typen.se or typen.se in Swedish. And on the website you can also download this specimen that I've created, and you can read more about the survey and the study. So if you would like to know more about it, I will recommend you to go to the website.
Thank you, we will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Louise.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. So please tell me about your project and what you've been working on.
Sure. So my project is called Technofossils, Remains of the Human Epoch. And in my project I wanted to show what a huge impact humans have had on nature. And I think this is something that a lot of people do realize, but I don't think they know to what extent. It's come so far now that nature is actually creating new kinds of objects that wouldn't exist if it weren't for our interference or because of our behavior. And these objects are the ones called technofossils. And a technofossil is basically an object that humans made. So it could be an old cell phone, it could be a brick. But in my project I focused on the ones that nature and humans created together. So new kinds of minerals that wouldn't exist if it weren't for us. So I don't know if you can see on the screen, probably not. But one of them, for example, is called Trinitite, and it was created in 1945 when the US government was testing the first atomic bomb. So if it weren't for our need to create new kinds of weapons, this object wouldn't exist. And I think that's really fascinating that these objects will probably last longer than we will. So in a way, they will be the ones telling our story in the future when we're not longer there to do it ourselves.
It's fascinating and frightening what we are doing to our world. But I think it's really lovely to see your pieces, because you worked really hard and they look really beautiful, and they're very, very scary, many of them. But I would also like to know, because you show 6 different pieces,
6 different ones, yeah.
And could you please tell us how you made that selection, why you chose those particular 6?
Yeah, absolutely. So I chose these 6 because I think together they kind of represent human civilization in a good way. So I showed you the one before, the green one that's called Trinity from weapons. And there's another one I made that grows on walls in uranium mines. Another one is made from melted plastic. So I think together these kind of sum up how we treat our nature as humans.
It's a really fascinating project, and we can see more of both the research and the background material, as well as the final pieces.
Yeah, some details of them.
And they're all moving images.
All the moving images.
And they're all on the website. So thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
And we're moving on to Måns.
Yes, hi Sofia.
Hello, please tell us about your project.
Yes, well, I've been trying to imagine what social media could look like without all the instant gratification and slot machine-like design that we find today, and instead try to design a slower social network that aims at reflection rather than dopamine boosts. So this project is called Slow Thoughts Network. And it takes inspiration from the exchange of letters, contemporary magazines, and also the design philosophy called slow technology. And the most prominent difference you will find on this network is that messages gets delivered only once a day. And also there is just one topic being discussed at a time. And those topics are called seasons. And the first season is Slow Thoughts on Digital Communication. And that is live right now on the website, so I suggest you go check it out after this presentation is over. And I've also been experimenting with different interaction elements. For example, online and offline mode as an interactive switch. So basically on the network, there is a reading mode and a writing mode, but there are no buttons to switch between them. Instead, you simply switch off or turn off the Wi-Fi, and you will enter a distractionless writing mode. And when you're done writing your thoughts, you simply turn it back on, and your thoughts are saved and will be delivered the next day. And there is much more to it, but I think that's all we have time for today.
That's exciting. But do you think that this particular time as well that we're living at now, and with the big pandemic, has that changed something in your project, or did that interfere with your project, or did that shape your project's outcome in a different way, do you think, or were you already there prior?
I think it has definitely shaped the project in some way, but I think they go well together, and I think it's good in this time for.
And you've been doing a lot of code?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I've been coding it myself as well. So yeah.
So that's something that you're interested in exploring and taking further.
Yes, probably. I have a background as an engineer as well. So yeah, I like to combine design and engineering.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's a very exciting and relevant topic that you've been exploring, and I think those kind of things, now it feels like you're going back to basics and sort of stripping back all the overload and making us come back to a tempo or a pace that suits us as humans a little bit better.
Yes. I've used it as an experiment, but also I think there are bits we can take and also implement in more applications.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing. And to see more, we can go both to the Beckmans webpage.
Yeah, I think you find the link on the Beckmans webpage.
Great.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. And we're moving on. And now we're going to look at books, a book about books. Hello.
Hi.
Pleased to come to your lovely library.
Thank you.
And what is this?
Well, this is a book about books. And well, to begin with, I would like to say that I've always been drawn to the idea that in times of difficulty or in times of hardship, we have an ability to turn to arts and culture in search of some kind of self-remedy or some kind of solitude. And I think there's so many ways in which arts and culture and even design help us without us actually realizing it. I'm gonna look at myself. And you know, whether it is during global issues such as a pandemic we're experiencing right now, or more personal issues in which we feel like nobody can understand us, I believe that turning to music or movies or books can be a reminder that we're not alone in our grief. And then a few months ago, I found this article narrating the experience of something called bibliotherapy, which is the act of being prescribed literature based on your own experiences and fears. And I just love that. And I love the idea that books and reading can guide us through our lives and give us a deeper sense of perspective. And it made me very much reflect on my own relationship to reading. And I've always loved books ever since I was a kid. And whether that has always just been a pure form of entertainment or if there's been this subconscious therapeutic aspect to it. And I felt like that would be very fun to do my graduation project about. So this is a book about books, and this is the result. And it's a collection of 21 different books that all carry themes of the inner self. And it's books that I have read myself and I've enjoyed, but I also believe they capture emotions such as love and grief and perseverance and self-criticism. And I've chosen these emotions because I believe them to be very human and to travel across time and space. So I hope that my thesis project will serve as, an introductory guide to reading therapy and hopefully make people want to read more books.
Thank you. And can you tell me, so you've picked 21 meaningful books?
Yes.
Books that made sense to you in different times of your life?
Yeah,
or?
exactly. And also books that capture these different themes. So it's a combination of the two. But they're all books that I have read and enjoyed in different ways.
And can you tell us a little bit more about how you actually constructed this book? How you, I see it's a beautifully designed book, but I would like to know a little bit more about how you went about the different chapters.
Well, the different chapters, the way I chose them was, as I said before, I think there are different aspects of life that you will always go through and therefore are very necessary to, the very human emotions. So no matter the time you live in or where you come from, I believe you've experienced some form of grief or some form of love or a broken heart. Or
So the themes are here. Sorry,
exactly.
I missed that. I didn't see that.
No
Thank
worries.
you. So it's a self-help book.
Yes,
sort
kind of, yeah.
Thank you. It's a beautiful project.
Oh, thank
you so much. I will put that here and move on. Thank you. And we're moving on to Tilda. Please tell us about what you've been doing.
Hello. Yes, I've been working with play as a design method. And maybe if we go around here, you can see a little bit better.
Thank you.
I started off with researching a lot about what play is and what kind of values the play has. And these then resulted in 3 different experiments which is connected to both graphic design and play. And I call them the perfect stick grid, Play-Doh pattern, and connect the letter forms. As you can see here, they are now on a poster where you can read about them and also see a little bit about what connect the letter forms made. Because from that experiment, I created also a little book.
Please
here.
show us. Should I
put it up?
And these are the different letter forms that has...
Sorry, I think they're showing my process now.
Oh, great.
And
Wonderful.
this is the experiment which was actually the originals of the Play-Doh pattern print, connect the letter forms, and the perfect stick grid. This has then resulted in a poster where you can read all about the experiments and 4 letter forms, which are created through play. And then I have also made it possible for the visitors when they arrive in August to participate on the back side of the poster, making their own letter forms and using these kinds of stencils to help them when they are going to create their letter forms.
Great. And apart from using, this is player's process.
Yes.
So is it purely designated to use for designing this typeface, or would you use the player's process as a method to create other things in design?
I think you can use it as a method to create other things because play and design is kind of similar.
Yeah.
They both have the flow and cooperation and everything like that. So I think it's a great method to use when designing because it's kind of the similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what if you take something with you? What is your biggest insight to take with you from this
It's fun to
project?
play, but it's kind of hard when like getting in the stage where you're supposed to like finish your sketching and like developing real typefaces, because playing is really good for like going further and develop, but to like generate functionality, I'm not so sure. But it's been a journey, and now I'm here.
Yeah, but I think play is a really lovely way of getting into a project and kickstarting it and giving you the opportunity to explore new ways that you may not think about sensibly.
Yeah.
That play is a very exciting way of kind of getting into creativity through the kitchen door.
Yeah, exactly, and you can like use it in everything, I think, and it's so that's great.
Lovely. It's really exciting, and we can see more on the website.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much.
You.
We're moving on to John.
Hello.
Hello. Please tell us about your project.
Yes, my project is called Sunday Sites, and it's an initiative to encourage people to express themselves through HTML and CSS and make websites. So I've made this site, which is mostly informative texts about how you get to join the club, so to say, and a couple of Sundays a month we meet on Zoom and we code together for 2 hours, and then we discuss the sites we made and how we made them, and it's a really social space, so to say. And this site also consists of an archive of the old the different websites that has been made during the project. And if you hover over the small flags on the website, you can get to all the sites that has been made. So if I click here, I get to this website, which won't load right now. So, yeah.
But what was the reason for you to work with code? What intrigued you by the actual code making or the creation of code?
Well, me myself, I'm not that good at coding. I've just been coding for like 2 years, so that's a really exciting place for me to like explore new possibilities. If you take, I'm very much more into print and stuff like that. So this is a very new space for me to express myself, and I'm trying to show that exciting feeling that I have for code to other people, so they can feel the same about it.
Yeah. But I think there's something about jumping into a new field and sort of with the naivety and sort of ignorance of a new way of thinking, and then almost like how mathematical and poetic, you know, how that sort of becomes the same, just two different sides of one thing. And I think it's a really exciting way of exploring a new language that we all need to share. It's very democratic in a way, but we also need to learn it. So it's opening up in a playful, gentle way to learn a new language.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Thank
we
you.
can see more on your website and on the Beckmans.
Yes, so
homepage.
go to sundaysites.cafe and join us on the Zoom on Sunday.
Lovely, we will. Thank you.
Thank
you so much, John.
Thank you.
And we're going into Felix. Hey.
Hey.
I can come and sit down with you.
Yeah, of course.
That's cozy. So Felix, please tell us about your project and what you've been doing.
Yeah, my project is called Top of the Pyramid, and I would like to call it audiovisual guided meditation. So it's basically a film. And I want to explore self-actualization. And the film follows a man trying to become the best person he or she could be. I believe that the top is visible for many of us today through social media and internet. And I think it's very easy to be delusionized in the idea of what the best person of you are. And I want to explore because I believe that it's very easy to get stuck in the idea that it's so you can find it through social and material status, and that's what the film wants to explore. Like, how does that chase feel, and is there an end to it?
Yeah, that's exciting. And I think what we have is the intro to your 6-minute long film, but we can see a section of that where you introduce us to your topic.
Yeah. And I also worked with a technique called found footage, which means that I've collected the images online. So I wanted to work with this technique since I wanted to showcase a lot of different people in a lot of different situations, and tried to use these fragments to build a story that showcases a phenomena in our society. And I'm also using meditation as a tool, since it is a tool for self-development. I'm using it in the film, and also as a tool for storytelling.
And what have you learned through the process?
Well,
have you discovered a little bit more, gone beyond the top of the iceberg about yourself?
Yeah, maybe. I think, I think I started to appreciate the things I have more, and hopefully people can come to that conclusion as well when they see the film.
Thank you. But we will watch the intro to your film now.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gently put your awareness on the screen. Hello, and welcome to this guided meditation session. You will now listen to my voice. My voice will help you and guide you to the top of the pyramid. Take some time to get comfortable. Every time you hear my voice, you will get even closer to the top. Open, relaxed, and receptive.
Hey, so please tell us about your work. What have you got here?
So going into this project, I was very inspired by the instrument called AutoPen, which is an instrument which only purpose is to sign and legitimate and prove the authenticity of confidential and military and commercial work, which has the same kind of, just as the LP record is storing information in its like tracks, these types of gears, along with the cam followers, contains the movement of the line, which you can manipulate it to illustrate or to transcribe something for you. So with this as an inspiration, I thought, why not replace myself and my tasks as a illustrator or as a graphic designer to make the work for me.
I have to see this. Please show us.
I will try to demonstrate it, but it jams sometimes. So
that's okay.
Can you please hold?
And is the machine better than you?
I mean, since it's mechanical me, like a self-portrait of me, I would say it has a lot of improvements to do, as well as I do within my physical forms. But I have combined the best results and sketches in this book.
Oh, wonderful!
To just complete like the best results of me as a machine.
This is so lovely. What is the biggest insight? What do you take with you from doing this? Had you ever built something like this before?
No, I have not, but I would say like the expectations of results is so much bigger than the expectations of the process, because this machine is like the whole process of the result, and the result is yet the thing that you kind of judge the work by. So I would say results in a way.
Thank you so much. This is beautiful. I would love this book. You need to make more of those. Where can we see some more stuff? Can we read about the process on the Beckmans page?
Since this is a physical piece of work, I'm hopefully doing some minor adjustments for it to be working on a regular basis by August. So then the idea is for the visitor to operate the machine by
in after
person.
the summer. Great. Yes. That's lovely. Well, thank you so much. This is super exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will go on to the next project, and we have Louise.
Yes, I'm back.
Who will share some words from Sarah's work.
Exactly.
And she couldn't be here
She couldn't be here today, but I'm going to read from this paper.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you shouldn't film me, you should film the book, because I don't want to be seen anymore. So my project is about plant blindness, a term describing our inability to notice the plants around us, or to know how important they are. For example, we tend to see them as decoration or a backdrop. Inspired by old herbariums, I have made a book in a few unique copies. I have during walks collected plants, which I have scanned, and mixed with quick snapshots of how plants are present around us, with the purpose of inspiring others to question their way of seeing.
This is really precious. I hope you get this, because it's very delicate and beautiful. Yeah. And I think that the way we see these flowers are like, it's not the flowers that you see in flower shops, it's the flowers that you pass by and ignore and sort of just take for granted in a way.
Exactly. It's really a beautiful book. A lot of work put into it.
So I hope that we can see some more of these gorgeous pictures on the website. And the materiality is really lovely, and it's very, very delicate, so it's really pretty. And then we have the real thing behind us. So it's really, really precious. So I'm going to just give you a little glimpse of the rest, and it's a really, really lovely book. And these are my favorite flowers, the wood anemones, obviously. Thank you so much. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a small summary of what we've seen today from both the fashion students and the design students. So I'll be joining Salka and Niklas. Almost. Over here to see.
Hello.
So, hi.
Hello.
So this was fun.
Yes.
And exciting to see what the students are intrigued by and what they are interested in. What would you say is like your main reflection on your groups of students? I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, there are both, I would say, similarities and differences when it comes to this year's graduating class. Fashion often has an emotional dimension to the students, and they explore themes from their childhood. They use fashion as a kind of fantasy and an escape, and that kind of theme I also saw this year. For example, a student working with inspiration from Carl Jung, but also another student, Jade, working with her childhood memories of her grandmother's house. and her being in the countryside. But what was different from with this year, I would say, is that they often took that inspiration and how should I say, they utilized it in regards to matters of sustainability. Going back to your childhood, for example, and then using that inspiration to find new techniques to work with materials and to find ways to use less materials when producing the collection. So in one way, very traditional, working with themes that we're used to seeing fashion students exploring. But on the other hand, we see this matter of sustainability. And then also, of course, just to add on, another thing that I thought was quite unusual this year is that the two students, Frida and Alvina, worked together. Because of course it's quite common that, well, I mean, it's the norm that students do their own collections. But this year we actually had two students working together, and I asked them if this was the first time that this ever happened at Beckmans, and they said no. Of course, someone else did it back in the 90s. But I've never seen it during my years here, and I thought it was quite interesting to see how they challenged the idea of the designer as a kind of a genius or this isolated figure.
We're going to look at their looks now. So maybe I think you see them here online. So you can make, on the monitor, we can see what they did. And do you have any comments? Is there anything particular in that collaboration that you see, not only that it was unusual for them to collaborate, but what they...
Well, I mean, that collection was also about not only two people working together and collaborating, but also of the meeting between garments and objects, oftentimes using soft materials, traditional textiles, in dialogue with ceramics or with tin or with wood, and seeing what happens when you take materials that are often used to do other kinds of objects like vases or plates or cups, and to add that to the body and something that is supposed to be in motion. That was also something that was quite new. Yeah.
We're going to see Jade's work too, and what was interesting with her pieces.
Well, Jade's collection, called Barbro, which I love to say in Skånska, my dialect, is this. How should I say, this merge, this meeting of, on the one hand, this traditional fashion discourse where she returns to a quite intimate moment in her childhood and her relationship with her mother with her grandmother named Barbro, and the country house that her grandparents used to rent every summer, and then using that as a source of inspiration to create a collection that is very resourceful and which doesn't waste any materials, because that's also often the way that you live during the summer, that you use whatever you have available, and you recycle, and you don't really waste anything, because it's difficult to go into the city and buy new things, so you use what you have, and that's also what she did in this collection. And in that way, I think she combined nicely the softer and more, how should I say, imaginative and playful dimensions of fashion with these demands that we see in contemporary fashion when it comes to sustainability.
And do you see a change going forward with how fashion design need to rethink how we produce clothes and how we produce collections throughout the years now? Can you see something that the students in this class indicate, is a not a trend, because that's such a ridiculous word, but like a sort of a movement forward that is showing of a different take on how we produce fashion?
Well,
the resourcefulness you spoke about.
And I think you said it yourself, because you said that trend is a ridiculous word, and it is nowadays. I was just telling Salka here in the intermission that fashion is in many ways one of the most unfashionable things that we have today, because fashion is really not trendy. This idea of having to continuously buy new things because the trends are changing, it's really not how we want to live our lives anymore. And because, I mean, the topic of sustainability has been on the minds of many in fashion for many years, but I would say that the way that this really had informed so many of the students, and that this was something that they also brought up themselves before I did the interviews with them, and they said, this is something I really want to talk about, this is something I'm passionate about, and this is really how I would like to spend my time, my 2 minutes on camera. This is the topic I want to address. That was a change I could see.
I think that's been a really prominent thing for all of our students, that this pandemic has really given us a chance to rethink how we do things and what we want to do and how we want to work forward. So what do you see, Salka, in the design students' projects? Do you see any sort of red thread or something, similarities in the way they approach their projects or how they, what they did?
Yeah. Picking up on Philip here with speaking about business as usual or not business as usual. Of course, when it comes to product design, there is always the classic design question of solving a problem out there. That's always there. And but also there are themes there that have been going on for quite a while, and that is, for instance, craft influences, introversion, for example, or historic references, stuff like that. But when we look at the classic design question, solving a problem out there, you also see that it's not business as usual in that sense that it's put in a contemporary context. Of course, there's always the sustainability angle, which creates new solutions to new problems. So these themes have been going on for quite a while, but I mean, there's always, when it comes to student works, there are always new angles on it, new angles on new themes. So interesting.
Yeah. No, that's exciting. Was there, you need to speak a little bit. Was there any particular project that you saw was really sort of showcasing those new ideas or the new tendencies?
They were all very individual, I think, yes. I mean, we were talking a lot during the intermission here, but I mean, the thing with the shares is just, I think just 10 years ago, then you would see a lot of shares in a design student exhibition, student design exhibition. I'm getting tired. But you don't these days, and if you see a share, it's definitely it's new. It's a statement. It's not a statement. No, but innovating and thinking about the contemporary problems that we have now. So what the pandemic is about and what the climate crisis is about is not thinking business as usual. And I thought that's really the main theme for all of them. This is not business as usual. Whether it's about solving a problem in society, the climate crisis or whatever, doing your contribution, whether it is that or it's thinking about a different path. Maybe I'm not going to work with mass production. Maybe I'm going to look into myself and explore my identity and make this my personal journey. My personal journey with exploring wood or exploring my historic heritage, stuff like that. So the different paths. Yeah.
No, I think that's interesting, and I think for me, trying to summarize what we saw here in this room with the visual communication students is the fact that it's time for introspectiveness, that we've had a chance to sit down and sort of think, and lots of projects were about sort of calming down, slowing down the pace of interaction and really valuing what we cherish as humans in the way we are involved with other people. And I thought it was interesting also that the discovery or the sort of excitement about exploring code as a new means of communicating, because it's a very sort of, it's non-democratic in the sense that we need to learn it, but it's also something that opens up for a new way of communicating. And I said that to you, Salka, that because I also teach quite a lot and I keep reading a lot, and there was an interview in the Harvard Business Review a couple of years ago saying that we can't teach the future generation but 3 things, and the first thing is to deal with change, social skills, number 2, and 3, code. So I think we've summed it up here today by showing lots of variations on those 3 themes. So with that, I think we're sort of done. We're done. Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job, everybody. Yeah.